Don Navarro, chairman of the KPN Advisors and Bankruptcy Expert, explains how the auto industry bankruptcies occurred and what really went on during the process.
With respect to the two bankruptcy proceedings, firstly, the U.S. trustee, the department charged that I worked with formerly, and in charge with the administration of bankruptcy, has filed objections to the advisors, J. Alex and I forget the other advisor, in the General Motors case because they are asserting duplication of work and objecting to $110 million in fee applications that have been submitted. I have just read the affidavit of Weil Gotshal, the law firm representing General Motors, and the affidavits are being challenged in some of the disclosures because they have asked for $55 million in fees. And there's an application this morning in Chrysler for $17 million in fees. The reason I bring this up is that when a bankruptcy is commenced, the courts take control of the assets, and legal title is transferred back to the owners pursuant to the Chapter 11 plan that is confirmed by the court. So the dynamic of creating the plan is a very complicated one, and it's one that the courts tend to put in action a very fast timeline for things to occur. And who among us as businessmen and women have ever made smart, good decisions that did not have adequate due diligence, adequate thought, triangulation of input, and wisdom in the multitude of counsel from people who know those specific industries. So the path we're on today is not a path that I believe is right for the industry. And we haven't even touched upon the effect it's going to have on Ford. Ford today is focusing primarily on the vendor side. GM and Chrysler are using the bankruptcy laws and attributes to try to strong-arm the dealers. And no one has, to my satisfaction or understanding, has come forward with any rational, strategic/economic argument as to why these dealers should be eliminated. It makes not much sense when you have a dealer who has served for many years in their communities and paid a check each month to the manufacturers to have them eliminated so quickly. The free market will take care of many of those dealers if they're not doing a good job. And so, again, I don't see how this can be happening today without more rationale and more understanding, and certainly how the lives of so many Americans in an industry so dear to us and key to us financially in our future could be transformed based on an expert opinion and testimony before a bankruptcy judge, and then some short-term appellate process in place with respect to any order rendered by the court, so that the actions have to move very quickly. And so I don't see how informed decisions, fair decisions could be made to the masses. I was asked by some folks in Washington what I thought should happen in November, should the bailouts have occurred. And I said, absolutely not. And I was asked by some investment advisory firms also. I said, absolutely not. I said, we have three branches of government for a reason. And this situation should have been put into the judiciary, where you have stakeholders, committees, and people who are knowledgeable of the industry participating actively. And I said, if you do it in that fashion, and then if the government treasury wishes to come in and do some guarantees within the debtor in position financing, then you have a system in place where the guarantees inside the DIP financing would have been much more valuable, in my opinion, back then, than putting money in so quickly, again, quickly, to people, managements under strategies that had not worked. So how could anyone expect a different outcome without changing the behavior? And so the behavior could have been done, should have been done in a more cohesive way and a more strategic way in the beginning. How do we fix this? Well, I think there's only one hope at this point, and every day that goes by is weakening the opportunity to fix this industry. And notice I said industry. I'm not saying General Motors or Chrysler, because the supply chain, as an example, affects many, many manufacturers, not just Ford and Chrysler, who happen to be in bankruptcy and receiving the press. But what I've come to understand, and I'm getting stronger and stronger in this viewpoint, that the interdependency of the industry is phenomenal. It's phenomenally dependent upon the other. And what I mean by this is that if you don't have the vehicles, how can you sell the new cars? If you don't have the new cars to the dealers, how can you have contracts that are fair-minded contracts to the supply chain? How do you have the metal commodities come into play into Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3? How do you generate the trade-ins that work to a washout to a used car dealer or a used car department that sources used car dealers? And I can go on and on. You have many industry associations out there, but what I've seen so far is that everybody in the associations, the dealers, the viewpoints, they're all looking at it from their reference point, from their viewpoint. Instead of coming together, there being a catalyst, a median to bring those disparate groups together who have a common interest, what I would call an alignment of economic interest. All of those associations, the dealers, now each one of them have different, members have different individual rights and laws that should be pursued, but the industry groups should take back the reorganization of the industry from the Justice Department and, from the Treasury Department and from the bankruptcy and investment banking professionals. That is a must. The sooner we can get the Treasury out of this game, the better it's going to be for everyone. And in my opinion, the only way to have that happen is for the groups to come together and start to manage, as business people, the professionals who are involved in those bankruptcies.